Approval of minutes.
I make a motion to approve the November 14th minutes.
A second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Here's the minute, we'll pass that around. Okay, the next item that we have on there is a recognition of Director Hodges. Jane, would you like to say anything? This is kind of your day.
Thank you. I will read my letter of retirement. I'm excited to announce my retirement as Director of Elections for Watauga County. Tuesday, June the 30th, 2015 will be my last day. After almost 29 years of being director, it is time for me to use my time to show my mom, my husband, my children, and my grandchildren how much I love and appreciate them. I love elections. And I love democracy in Watauga County. This was not just a job, it was a commitment. My love for democracy, for fairness, my respect for the voters, and just for the process itself required a lot of dedication. But with all that, I have felt a sense of fulfillment. I, with the support of my staff, have tried to make Watauga County better with each successful election. I have a sense of pride and a feeling of fulfillment in knowing that what we have done has helped to make democracy survive. I want to say thank you to my staff, to the poll workers, and to the different boards that I have served under. I hope each of you will continue with the passion that I have in serving not only the voters, but democracy itself. I hope we have done well. We have gone from paper ballots and punch cards to optical scan. We have worried nights on end about dimpled and hanging and pregnant chads. But I want to thank Watauga County and you, the voters and my supporters, for this opportunity and a life fulfilled. I feel that I have been able to do what I was meant to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
Okay, I would like to, I have a statement that I'd like to
One second.
discuss here.
I would like to present her with a recognition. This is a resolution recognizing the service of Jane Ann Hodges to Watauga County. Whereas Jane Ann Hodges is a lifelong citizen of Watauga County, and whereas Jane Ann Hodges began employment with Watauga County as the Watauga County Elections Director on December 1st, 1985, and whereas Jane Ann Hodges became federally certified elections registration administrator in 1996, and whereas Jane Ann Hodges became a certified North Carolina elections administrator in 1997, and was in the first group receiving such certification from the North Carolina State Board of Elections, and whereas Jane Ann Hodges served as president of the North Carolina Association of Election Directors from 2005 through 2007, and whereas Jane Ann Hodges has announced her retirement as the elections director of Watauga County with an effective retirement date of July 1st, 2015, and whereas Jane Ann Hodges is married to Bobby Hodges and is the mother of 2 children, Michelle Hodges and Michelle Swan, and is also the grandmother of 3 grandchildren, Gracie Hodges, Judge Swan, and Emma Swan, and whereas whereas the Watauga County Board of Elections is desirous of recognizing the years of service of Jane Ann Hodges, Now therefore, be it hereby resolved that the Watauga County Board of Elections does hereby recognize the many years of service provided by Jane Ann Hodges to the Watauga County Board of Elections and citizens of Watauga County as Elections Director for Watauga County. And be it further resolved that the Watauga County Board of Elections wishes Jane Ann Hodges a joyous and happy retirement. Read and adopted this day, 11th day of February, 2015. We'll need a motion for this in a second. But, thank you, Jane. I told Jane there's a black and white picture from the Watauga Democrat, probably of one of her first elections. I'm probably 5, and it's all my brothers at the rail, third in the small courtroom watching the returns come in. And Jane was probably there at that one, so thank you for your service, Jane.
Thank
I'll
you.
make a motion to approve.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
I would like to make a short statement and discuss a retirement. And since we are under recognition of Director
Okay.
Hodges. Right. I just want to state how much I admire Jane Hodges, our Executive Director on the Watauga County Board of Elections, for being so strong in dealing with the concerted campaign on the part of the Republicans on this board and others in the county government and the Republican Party over the past year and a half.
Well, now, wait, are you just gonna make this a political statement? Because this is Jane's,
This is not a
this is
political
Jane's day.
statement. This is what I observed
All right.
happening.
Go ahead.
All right? Where they changed their job description to attempt to, they never let up from the first meeting I attended where they changed her job description to attempt to control whom she met and talked to and imply that she wasn't trustworthy enough to meet with the public in her own office, forcing her to stand in the middle of an entry room to talk to anyone who was not on the board or staff. I won't belabor what else has happened over the past year, but Mr. Eggers during the November elections became angry with Jane Ann for a seemingly innocent act, and tonight, as you can see, Mr. Eggers called this meeting and sent the attached agenda to the Board of Elections office, which includes a closed meeting and a personnel action, although he claims otherwise, and Jane has too much dignity to complain in public. This was quite clearly intended for her, and she took it that way and resigned. I believe this was an exceptionally cruel and arrogant way to treat a public servant who's been absolutely and totally fair and honest in her behavior towards anyone who has come into her office, whether they are Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, or Independents. She knows more about election law and how to do her job than either myself or my colleagues could ever hope to know. 29 years of working in a position which is infinitely complicated and requires not only the knowledge of the law, but organizational skills, communication skills, and ability to master the difficulties of putting on an election and keeping up with equipment breakdowns, training sessions for poll workers, bad weather, and people not showing up. And she has done it all with tact and honesty and the utmost kindness, which she offered even to those who were treating her badly. I just want to say to Jane that I salute you, and I'm proud to have been able to work with a person as wonderful and talented as you are. I hope you have a wonderful retirement, but the county will sorely miss you, and I am very troubled about how someone coming in so soon before a national election is going to be able to handle the task that you have done so well. Okay, there's going to be a retirement party for Jane Ann. And if you all would write this down, it's going to be Saturday, June the 27th, at the Boone United Methodist Church on New Market Boulevard. You turn at the light and it's behind Lowe's, okay? It'll be 2 to 4 p.m. And we are going to have cake and fruit and punch and nuts, and we're going to have enough for 250 people. I'm going to throw in some money, and we can't charge it to the Board of Elections, but it would be nice if anybody who wants to contribute, including you guys, would like to give that money to give a contribution to Donna so she can put this thing together. This is just because we just love you, Jane, and we just really want to honor your service. Thank you.
mean, I think it's very unfortunate you continue to politicize Jane's retirement. You know, today should have been about Jane, is about Jane. And I think if you look back this past 2 years or year and a half ago on the board, you know, not once has, in my opinion, and in my, you know, Luke and I have done anything to, you know, to damage Jane's reputation, to tarnish anything about the history of her serving as director of this county. I feel like your politicalization of this day just speaks volumes of kind of your antics in the whole time you've been on this board. It's been very political. I do not approve of it, and I think today was just, it's unfortunate. You chose today to read a statement, a prepared statement, not speak from your heart about Jane and what she's offered to this county. So I'm disappointed that you had to bring that up, and you brought it up the past couple of weeks in the papers. And moving forward, I'd like for this to be about finding a successor to Jane, honor her today about her retirement, and then let's move forward. This is 100% Jane's decision, and anything we've asked of Jane, we will ask of the next director. I think it's very reasonable, and moving forward, you know, in my opinion, nothing is going to change, whether it's Director Hodges or someone else in her position.
Let's go to the next agenda. Jane, thank you for it.
Thank you.
Number 4 is the new registrations and statistics.
I make a motion to approve pending review.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We'll now go to public comment.
Well,
Okay. First up, Jane, you'll be keeping time. First up is Pam Williamson.
Thank you for letting me speak. I didn't actually come up here to talk about partisanship, but I just can't pass up the opportunity to note that it's always interesting when people who have been highly partisan in everything that they have done to discourage voting, then once they get what they want, which is getting rid of the only thing left that is nonpartisan in the office, claim that we're being partisan. So I think that's just sort of the way it goes. But what I wanted to say was to Jane Ann, and to reminisce just very briefly about this. Talking about partisanship, a lot of people here, Jane Ann, probably don't remember that back in the 90s at some point, and I'm getting old enough now where I don't really remember the exact date, but the Democratic Party was in charge of the Board of Elections. And at that time, they decided to go all jihad on Jane Ann. And other people, they did the same thing you guys did. Made her log in on her calls, told her she couldn't speak with anybody who came into her office. Rusty, this was Democrats, wasn't it? And those of us in the Democratic Party stood up against our own and said we wouldn't tolerate it because it wasn't right and it wasn't fair, and that Jane Ann had been an impartial person and deserved to continue to serve the county in that way. So when you guys talk about partisanship, we might ask your own party why they didn't step in when you treated Jane Ann the way she was treated. The other thing I wanted to bring out, one last thing. Jane Ann treated me just like she did anybody else. Usually that was just as sweet as she could be, and on occasion it was mean as hell. And I once went in because there was an election here. If I go over my time, I hope you'll just let me finish this story. There was an election here, again, I've lost dates these days, but there was a 5-vote difference between the Democrat and Republican for a county commissioner seat.
2000.
It was 2000, the year 2000. And so there was an automatic electronic recount. And in the first count, the Republican had won, and in the second count, the Democrat won. So that meant all of the Republican lawyers came in and began to talk, and it was me and somebody else. I don't know where our lawyers were. I have no idea. But they were threatening, and they were going to sue, and they were going to do this and that. And I jumped right in and I told Jane Ann, I said, you either do the right thing or we're gonna sue you too. I said, we will sue you because we know that there needs to be a hand-eye recount, and that's what it says right here, and you've got to do it. Jane Ann looked at me and said, you know what, Pam? You can just get in the back of the line. So, I like it when people stand up, regardless of what party they are. I like it when they stand up and they speak out and act on behalf of justice and fairness, which the two of you have never done, and now you come in here and tell us all we got to get over it and not be partisan anymore. I give you a challenge. If you're truly not wanting to be partisan, then I'm hoping that whoever you pick, who will never meet Jane Ann's standards, but we can hope that they'll at least be fair, will be a unanimous decision by this board for that person. Otherwise, we already know what's happening. Jane Ann, thank you for everything. I'm sorry for the times I yelled at you, but I consider you a dear friend and someone who I would trust with my life.
Thank you. Pam, I have enjoyed our debates.
Next, we have Kelly Jo Edmondson.
Hey.
I'm sorry, I'm not very familiar with this situation, but I do know Jane Ann is a fantastic leader. She needs to stay in her office. She does not need to retire, forced or unforced. She needs to continue working for the people of Watauga County in a fair and very impossible way. Jane, thank you for being that way.
Thank you.
Next, we have Loretta Clausen.
Thank you for allowing me to be a part of public comment. I'm going to cry. Jane Ann is the most professional person I have ever come in contact with. It was my pleasure to serve the town of Boone for 16 years, 5 elections, and never have I had anyone to treat me better or more professional than this wonderful lady. And it wasn't only me. It was everyone who came through her door. It was a pleasure for me to work with you, Jane Ann, to have your help, to have the booklet handed to me. This shows, you say, now this is what you need to look at. But everybody who came in was treated with the same kindness, the same professionalism. Everybody that came into your office. You are an outstanding person, a dear, wonderful person in this community. This community thinks so highly of you. And also the state of North Carolina. Who do they call when they need something or they need to know about a rule? They call Jane Ann Hodges. I've been throughout the state and I've heard your name many times. Y'all have the best supervisor in the state of North Carolina, and it's not a political thing. It's from both parties. We thank you, we love you, and we'll always be your friend. Thank you so much.
Next is Barbara Yale Reed. Okay. We'll move on to Marjorie McKinney.
Don't you do that, or I'll try to. Jane Ann, I just want to thank you for being such a wonderful example of what democracy and fairness and dignity can be. Thank you. We're going to miss you.
Thank you.
The last person signed up on the list is Matthew Walpole.
I need a hug from
Yes, you do. I guess the first election I worked was back in the 90s, and we did some that were presidential. I was a precinct judge. We did presidentials, and we did judicial primary runoffs, where we were lucky if we got 3 people walk in the door. And when you tested the machine by voting yourself, you sort of lost your secret ballot, because you might be the only person that voted all day. And I think every last one of them, the high point was getting to work with you. And I thank you. And it was an honor and a pleasure.
I'm sorry, there was one more, Jenny Church.
Thank you. Sorry that I signed up on the wrong page. Janie Ann, I want to say that I love you, and I'm very proud of you. And I'm glad that you get to leave on your own terms, and that you're happy about your decision. Jane Ann said in her own words that she's been through worse boards than this. And I don't know that these guys deserve the bullying that they received here today. And I think some of you should be a little bit embarrassed about trying to take today away from her and make it about something else. You will be missed, and you're bigger than this problem.
And the next agenda item we have is closed session personnel. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
I'll
Can
make
I
a
ask
motion.
why we're going to closed session?
Well, it's to discuss personnel. We're going to ask Jane how everything's running in the office.
I don't think that's a personnel action.
Do you want to strike it from the agenda?
I
mean,
think that anything that we do should be in public, because there's no reason Jane's.
I'm not going to discuss personnel issues in the public, so
Well, are you?
then,
there's particular
well,
people besides
well,
Jane that you're bringing a personnel
well,
action
here's-
against?
there's no action, doesn't have to be action. We've been on this board 2 years. You think it'd be a good idea for the board to get together with the director
That's not
and talk
that,
about
you know,
staff in closed
in the
session? I think it would
newspaper.
be.
In the newspaper, in the Watauga Democrat, Anna Oaks put the statute in there, and it says it is illegal to have personnel discussions that are not about, if you're not having a closed session action against personnel, you have to have an open meeting. And so I move that whatever we have to say should be said in the open.
Okay, let's do it this way. We'll do it this way. Is there a motion to remove closed session from the agenda?
I don't think it's a motion. It's against the law to have a closed session.
Okay,
You
we'll
have to
just
have a
remove it
public-
from the agenda. Now, I would like to make a I so move that Jane, please fill out evaluation forms on the Board of Elections staff. Okay, and could you also send us evaluation forms as well in our emails? Okay, do I have a second for that motion?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And to piggyback on that, just as a better discussion, I think it is important for a board to meet and to discuss matters. I think that's the reason there is a closed session. There is a statute for closed sessions in the general statute book. And I think it is important to discuss certain things, personnel matters, you know, as a board. I think that is,
Well, the reason they have a public records law is just to stop you from doing that. You have a closed session when it's something that has to do with personnel. You don't have a closed session just because you'd like to.
Okay, this isn't gonna go anywhere. Let's just, for the ease of everything, and let's not get into a long drawn-out argument about this. We'll just take it off the record, we'll fill out evaluation forms, and then we'll figure out what the statutes say between now and next month. And number 7 is adjournment. Meeting adjourned.
I'd like to just add one other item. In reference to Jane's retirement, I would like to see if we can get a job description, maybe from the county manager's office.